The sky hung low and gray, the kind of morning that felt heavy before the day had even begun. Emma Davis wrapped her thin coat tighter around her frame as she stepped through puddles that dotted the sidewalk, the cold bit at her fingertips through. The worn gloves she'd stitched more times than she could count. Her shoes, cheap, cracked, and barely holding on, squished with each step. In one hand, she held a small paper bag, 2 slices of dry bread and a hard-boiled egg, her breakfast and lunch for the day. In the other, a pair of latex cleaning gloves, already yellowing from use. Her dark hair was tied back, and her uniform, though clean, was faded. The badge on her chest read, Crownville Towers, Staff. She glanced at the time on her phone, 7:12 a.m. She had 18 minutes to clock in, and the buses had been delayed again. With a deep breath, she picked up her pace along the roadside. She didn't see the SUV coming. A white luxury car surged forward, tires hissing on the slick pavement. Emma barely had time to turn her head before a wall of muddy water shot up from a pothole and drenched her. Her face, uniform, and lunch bag were instantly soaked. She stood frozen, drops sliding from her chin. The SUV didn't stop. Instead, the tinted passenger window rolled down just a few inches, revealing a perfectly made-up woman in oversized sunglasses and flawless red lipstick. "Watch where you stand. Next time," she laughed cruelly before the window rolled back up. The engine revved, and the car disappeared down the road. Emma blinked. Her lips trembled, but she didn't cry. Not here. Not where people might see. She looked down at the ruin. Bag in her hand, now mush. She took a shallow breath, brushed back her wet hair, and kept walking. Across the street, inside a black Mercedes parked beside a quiet cafe, a man lowered his sunglasses. Ethan Cole had watched everything. He hadn't planned on stopping there. He was on his way to an early meeting, but a missed call had prompted him to pull over for a few minutes. Then he'd seen it, the splash, the cruelty, the girl's silence. His expression darkened. "She didn't even flinch," he murmured to himself. He reached for his phone. "Find out who that girl is," he said to the person on the other end. "I want a full profile, quietly." Emma reached Crownville Towers at 7:27 a.m. Her uniform clung to her body. Her shoes squelched on the marble floor of the staff entrance. The front desk worker, Miriam, gave her a look but said nothing. The break room, she peeled off the soaked coat and gloves. The locker clanged as she opened it and pulled out a backup uniform, one size too big but dry. Before she could change, Mr. Clark stormed in, clipboard in hand. "You're late, Davis," he barked. "And what the hell happened to you?" I got splashed by a car," she said, keeping her eyes down. No excuses." He didn't even let her finish. "You're on lobby duty today, and don't make the guests smell whatever's dripping off you." Emma nodded. Her voice caught somewhere between her chest and her throat. She changed quickly, pinned her damp hair back up, and went to work. No one spoke to her. No one asked if she was okay. By noon, her back ached, her stomach growled, and her hands were raw from scrubbing the marble. She took her lunch break behind the building, sitting on an overturned crate with her coat draped over her shoulders. Her phone lit up. A text from her little sister, Olivia. "Did you eat today?" Emma smiled faintly and replied, "Yeah, don't worry. Love you." The reality was, she hadn't eaten. The muddy bag had gone straight into the trash. She unwrapped the boiled egg she'd saved in her coat pocket and ate it slowly, peeling back the shell with care, as if that could make it last longer. She didn't notice the man watching her from the corner of the building. Ethan leaned against a maintenance post, dressed in jeans, hoodie, and a baseball cap. Unrecognizable. He watched as Emma chewed quietly and glanced at her phone. Her eyes were tired, but her posture remained upright. There was no makeup, no entitlement, just quiet grace. She reminded him of someone. "Her name is Emma Davis," his assistant told him later that day, handing over a file. 23. Works part-time here and cleans office buildings at night. Lives in West Pine. Has a 10-year-old sister. Mother passed away 2 years ago. No known father on record. Ethan scanned the photo paper clipped to the file. Emma stood smiling, arm around a small girl with bright eyes. A modest Christmas tree stood in the background. She didn't deserve that today, he muttered. Do you want me to reach out? His assistant asked. Not yet, he replied. Let's just keep an eye on her. That evening, Emma walked into their apartment and was greeted by Olivia running into her arms. Why are you wet? The little girl asked. Long day, Emma replied, hugging her tight. Go wash up. I'll make noodles. They ate quietly on the couch, and afterward, Emma hand-washed her muddy uniform in a bucket. She looked out the window. Somewhere, beyond the rooftops, the world kept spinning. She wondered if it would ever notice her. The next morning, Emma arrived early. Her backup uniform was wrinkled but clean. When she opened her locker, something fell out, a brown paper bag. Inside, a fresh, warm breakfast sandwich and a folded note for the girl who walks with grace even when the world doesn't. Emma stared at it, stunned. She looked around. No one was watching. She held the sandwich in both hands like it might vanish. Then she took a bite, still warm. Real food. For the first time in a long time, she smiled. Ethan watched the security feed from his office. A quiet corner camera near the staff lockers had captured her reaction. He nodded to himself. Small steps, he whispered. That afternoon, Vanessa Johnson was in the penthouse suite at Crownville Towers. She had a smoothie in one hand and her phone in the other, scrolling through photos of herself in designer clothes. She didn't think about the girl she'd splashed until a manila envelope arrived at her door. Inside, a grainy photo of her car, mid-splash, a sticky note attached. Not everyone forgets. She crumpled the note, tossed it, and laughed bitterly. Some people need to stay in their place, she said aloud. But that laugh didn't reach her eyes. The next few days at Crownville, Towers felt different. Emma couldn't put her finger on it, but things began to shift in tiny, almost imperceptible ways. Another sandwich appeared in her locker the next morning, this one wrapped in wax paper and still slightly warm, with a fresh note tucked beside it. Your kindness matters, even when no one sees it. No name, no clues, just good food and carefully chosen words. She sat alone behind the hotel's rear service wing to eat, and for the first time in weeks, her stomach didn't twist with emptiness. She held the note between her fingers like it might tear if she breathed too hard. No one had spoken to her like that in years, not since her mom. Meanwhile, the hotel lobby buzzed with muted tension. Vanessa Johnson walked through the front doors, like she owned them. She wore stilettos sharp enough to draw blood, a white cashmere coat, and a high ponytail that swayed like it had its own agent. Two bellboys jumped to open the doors. She didn't thank them. At the front desk, Casey, her anxious assistant, trailed behind, typing furiously on her phone. Have they found who sent the photo? Vanessa snapped. Not yet, Casey murmured. We think it might have come from inside the hotel. Obviously. Vanessa's voice was cool. No one else would care about some cleaner getting a facial full of street juice. She turned toward the elevator. As it opened, she caught her reflection in the gold paneling and tilted her head. Perfect, or so she thought. Later that day, Emma was scrubbing the baseboards in the East Corridor when Mr. Clark approached her. Clipboard in hand, as always. Davis, he said, barely looking at her. Starting tomorrow, you're being reassigned. She froze. Sir? You've been moved to the VIP floors, suites and executive lounges. Emma blinked. I didn't. Apply for that. I know. He flipped a page. Management approved it. But why? Clark frowned as if she'd just asked him to solve calculus. You've been noted for attention to detail. Take it or leave it. Emma nodded, slowly. I'll take it, thank you. He didn't respond. Just walked away. She stood up and turned toward the row of tall windows at the end of the hall. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds for the first time all week. She allowed herself a breath. The next morning, Emma arrived early again. But her locker held something new. Not food this time. Inside was a pristine pair of cleaning gloves. Not the cheap ones they normally issued, but high-grade, reinforced latex gloves, the kind used in high-end hospitals and labs. Tucked between them was another note. Tools for someone who does more than just clean. You elevate everything you touch. Emma stared at the note. She couldn't help the sting in her eyes. This was more than a gesture. This was someone seeing her. Tina noticed the change immediately. 6 years as a cleaner in Crownville Towers, and no one had ever offered Tina a VIP pass, much less fancy gloves or warm sandwiches. She watched Emma from across the break room, her eyes cold, arms crossed. She gets on the VIP floor and suddenly everyone's whispering, Tina muttered. Well, she does her job well, said Rita, another longtime cleaner, carefully. So do I. But I don't flirt with management. Rita's face tightened. She doesn't flirt. She barely speaks. Tina just clicked her tongue and walked off. Ethan Cole sat in the Sky Lounge, wearing a gray hoodie, faded jeans, and dark sunglasses. Unrecognizable, a cappuccino steamed in front of him, untouched. From A. His corner seat, he watched Emma wipe down the windows on the upper balcony level, her movements precise and fluid. She hummed quietly to herself, unaware of the eyes tracking her. When she finished and moved to the main lounge, he stood. Excuse me, he said, walking up slowly. Do you know where the event hall is? Emma looked up, surprised. Yes, sir. Just down that hallway, past the glass doors. I can walk you if you'd like, he smiled. That'd be great. As they walked side by side, he said casually, First week on this floor? Emma glanced over. Yes, just started yesterday. Seems like you've been here longer. You handle yourself like someone who owns the place. She chuckled softly. Hardly. I'm just trying not to get in trouble. He paused. Is trouble common? She looked up at him briefly. In my life? Pretty frequent? In this hallway? Not yet. Ethan laughed lightly. Fair enough. As they reached the end of the corridor, she stopped. This is it, sir. Thanks. What's your name? Emma, he nodded. Nice to meet you, Emma. I'm Alex. He extended his hand. Just in town for some meetings. She shook it gently. Welcome to Crownville, Alex. He looked down at their hands, then released hers. You know, people usually rush through jobs like this. You take your time. I try to do things well, even when no one's looking. He paused, watching her. Someone is. Emma tilted her head, curious. What? He smiled again. Just a thought. And with that, he disappeared into the conference hall. That evening, Olivia ran to greet Emma at the door, arms flung wide. You look tired, she said seriously. Emma laughed. That's because I am. I made you a drawing, Olivia said, proudly, pulling it out of her backpack. It was a crayon sketch of 2 stick figures, one tall, one small, both holding hands in front of a tall building labeled The Fancy Hotel. Emma nearly cried on the spot. Did you draw this at school? She asked. Yep, that's you. And that's me. And you're rich now. Emma burst out laughing. I don't think a promotion to cleaning the VIP floor makes me rich, baby. But you're fancy now, Olivia insisted. Emma hung the drawing on the wall above their tiny dining table. We're both fancy then. The next day, Vanessa sat at her favorite rooftop restaurant, sipping lemon water and ignoring the wind that tried to mess up her hair. Her phone buzzed. She checked the message and froze. Another post. Photo of the splash. Rich doesn't mean right. Getting traction. Casey, she hissed. Get this taken down. I don't care how. Casey looked nervous. I think it's spreading. People are resharing the story. They're calling her inspirational. Vanessa's jaw locked. She was in the way, she snapped. Maybe, Casey hesitated. Maybe you should apologize? To a cleaner? Vanessa's laugh was dry. Don't be ridiculous. It'll die down. But deep down, she knew. The story wasn't going anywhere. Back at the hotel, Emma found another note in her locker. You make people want to be better. Keep going. This time, there were no gifts. Just words. But they were enough. She tucked the note into the same small pouch where she kept her sister's drawings and their mother's obituary. Ethan watched from the corner of the hotel garden later that day as Emma arranged flowers in a silver vase near the executive lounge. Guests passed her without a glance, but he saw everything. The care in her hands, the way she adjusted each stem like it mattered. She wasn't just cleaning a space, she was restoring it. That evening, Emma was wiping down the staff hallway when Tina cornered her. So what's your secret? She asked, voice sharp. Emma looked up, surprised. Sorry? You get special gloves, private promotions, locker surprises. Tina leaned in. What did you do? Sleep with a manager? Emma recoiled. No, I would never. Don't act all innocent. Girls like you always find a way to climb. Emma blinked, hurt flashing across her face. I do my job. That's all. Tina scoffed and walked away, but her words lingered like smoke. That night, Ethan stood alone in his private suite, lights dimmed, staring out at the skyline. He'd seen the confrontation on the hallway cameras. He'd heard every word. He picked up his phone and typed a message to the hotel manager. Start reviewing internal behavior logs. I want to know who's making her life harder. Quietly. He hesitated. Then added, and increase her access. She's going to need it. The marble lobby of Crownville Towers gleamed under warm morning light. Guests strolled past polished columns and gold-trimmed walls. Everything looked perfect. At least it was supposed to, until a loud thud shattered the stillness. A man in a navy blue suit lay sprawled on the floor, groaning in pain. His briefcase had spilled open. Glasses askew, shoes scuffed. Guests gasped. One woman shrieked. A nearby concierge rushed to his side. Sir, are you all right? I slipped, he muttered, trying to sit up. The floor's slick. Damn near cracked my head. Within moments, Mr. Clark, the hotel supervisor, stormed onto the scene. His eyes scanned the floor, slightly cloudy. A faint residue on the tiles. Cleaning solution. His voice was sharp. Who mopped here last? Someone pointed. That new girl on the VIP rotation, Emma. Emma was in the back hall when she was summoned. She walked into the manager's office, unsure of what was happening. Clark didn't offer her a seat. There was an incident, he said curtly. A guest slipped in the main lobby. Her heart dropped. I wasn't assigned to the main lobby today. Clark ignored her. There was cleaning residue on the marble. You're the only one logged for equipment use this morning. That doesn't make sense, she said quietly. I haven't even been near the lobby. I cleaned the VIP West Wing today. And yet, the mop you checked out was found unattended. In the lobby supply closet. Same batch of solution used. Same storage unit logged under your name. Emma's voice was tight. I double-checked my cart. I never left anything in the lobby. Are you saying someone else used your materials? Clark raised an eyebrow. That's a serious accusation. I'm not accusing, she replied. I'm saying something's wrong. He stared at her. Cold, doubting. The same look she'd seen too many times before. You'll be suspended, pending investigation, he said flatly. Clear your locker. Emma didn't speak. She couldn't. Her chest burned, her throat closed. She turned to leave but paused at the door. "I didn't do it," she whispered. Clark didn't respond. Ethan. Cole saw the security alert ping just as he stepped into the hotel's east wing. He tapped into the camera system from his phone. Live feed. Incident, lobby, guest injured, staff blamed, name, Emma Davis. His jaw tensed. "Enough," he muttered. 15 minutes later, the hotel's head of security entered Clark's office with a flash drive and a tight expression. "Sir," he said, handing it over, "Mr. Cole requested immediate footage review." Clark hesitated. "That's confidential." Mr. Cole gave authorization. He plugged in the drive. The footage was clear. Tina, looking around nervously, opened the staff supply closet and swapped Emma's labeled cleaning solution with another. She placed it back, then quickly left through the emergency stairwell. There was no ambiguity. Clark turned pale. Emma was halfway to the bus stop when her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Miss Davis," a professional voice said. "You've been cleared. Please return to the hotel. We apologize for the misunderstanding." She stopped walking. What happened? Let's just say the truth. Found its way to the surface. When she returned, the lobby was quiet again. Mr. Clark stood near the desk, face flushed. "You've been reinstated," he said. "We overreacted." Emma didn't answer. She just gave a nod and went straight to the break room. Inside her locker was a small envelope. No sandwich, no gloves, just a folded note. Justice doesn't always knock loudly. Sometimes it just waits for the right moment. You were seen. This time, she held the note to her chest for a long, long minute. Tina was placed on administrative leave. She stormed out that afternoon, glaring daggers at anyone who dared look her way. But Emma didn't feel triumphant, just tired. Rita approached her at the end of the shift. "For what it's worth," Rita said, "you didn't deserve that." Emma smiled gently. "Thank you." Then Rita leaned closer. "There's talk that someone high up stepped in for you. You know anyone in upper management?" Emma blinked. "No, I don't know anyone." Rita narrowed her eyes. "Well, someone knows you." That evening, as Emma stepped outside, she saw him. "Alex," she said, surprised. "Twice in 1 week." Ethan chuckled under the hoodie and sunglasses. "Is that unusual?" "Very. Most of our guests don't say hi or remember names." "Well, I'm not most guests." Emma looked at him curiously. "You knew, didn't—" "You? Knew what?" "That I didn't do it." He smiled slightly. "I had a hunch. A hunch that involves security footage?" He shrugged. "I believe people show who they are. You walk through this place like you're rebuilding it with your hands. I couldn't watch you be blamed for something you didn't do." She tilted her head. "Why does it matter to you?" Ethan looked at her for a long moment. "Because not enough people care when good people fall." Emma didn't know what to say, but something shifted between them in that quiet pause. Across the city, Vanessa lounged in a velvet armchair, scrolling through her phone until her finger froze mid-swipe. A blog post. Cleaner promoted after sabotage scandal. Anonymous supporter steps in. A photo of Emma from behind, mercifully, mopping the executive floor. The comments praised her perseverance. Called her the quiet one who kept rising. Vanessa's throat tightened. Casey hovered nearby. "It's going viral." "Who's sharing this garbage?" Vanessa hissed. "Influencer accounts? One even said she's a role model for quiet strength." Vanessa slammed her phone down. "She's mopping floors. What kind of role model is that?" Casey didn't answer. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "You know what? If she wants attention, let's give her attention." The next morning, Emma entered the hotel to a sudden chill in the air. Not the weather, the people. Staff that once nodded or smiled gave her side eyes. Whispers trailed her down hallways. A few giggled when she passed. It wasn't until her Break that she saw it. A phone left on a nearby bench. Open screen. A gossip blog. Mysterious cleaner wooing billionaire behind the scenes. Cinderella or gold digger? There was a blurry photo of her and Ethan talking outside. Emma's stomach dropped. In his office, Ethan read the article with his jaw clenched. The entire piece reeked of malicious fabrication, suggesting she had used pity to seduce a mysterious billionaire benefactor. There were no direct names, but the implication was clear. He didn't hesitate. He scheduled a press meeting for noon. By lunchtime, a modest podium was set up in Crownville Tower's main ballroom. A few cameras, reporters, staff members clustered near the back. Ethan Cole, no hoodie now, no sunglasses, stepped forward in a dark suit. He cleared his throat. I don't often speak publicly about my personal views, but today I'm making an exception. He looked straight at the cameras. Emma Davis is not a gold digger. She is not a manipulator. She's not playing a role. He paused. She is one of the hardest working, most honorable people I've had the privilege to meet. And if this world has taught us anything, it's that people like her deserve to be seen, not smeared. Murmurs. In the crowd, Ethan continued, his voice calm but firm. If we're more shocked by someone rising through dignity than someone falling through arrogance, maybe we've been applauding the wrong stories. He stepped back. Reporters fired questions. He ignored them. Emma watched it all on her phone during her break. Frozen. Tears welled in her eyes, not from the article, but from Ethan's words. He didn't just defend her, he saw her. That evening, a small delivery arrived at her apartment. Single red rose and a card. Let the world whisper. I'll always speak your truth. E. Emma sat with the rose in her lap, unable to move for a long time. Whatever this was, it wasn't just kindness anymore. Something was blooming. A week after the press conference, the tone inside Crownville Towers had shifted. The whispers were gone. Now, people nodded when Emma passed. Some even smiled. Rita offered to share her lunch. Mr. Clark, formerly ice cold, had even said good morning, a miracle in itself. And Tina? Still suspended, pending formal review. Her absence spoke louder than any apology could. Emma walked with her head slightly higher now. Not out of arrogance, but because it no longer felt like the weight of the world was crushing her spine. On Tuesday morning, she arrived early to prep the executive lounge. She opened her locker and found a large envelope tucked inside. Her name handwritten on the front in clean, precise script. She opened it carefully. Inside, a formal letter, neatly embossed with a seal. Congratulations, Miss Davis. You have been selected for the Cole Estate Scholarship in Hospitality and Management. This full academic grant covers tuition, materials, transportation, and mentorship for the duration of the program. You may continue part-time employment if desired. We believe in your future. Cole Foundation, Board of Trustees. Emma sat down. On the bench beside her locker, the paper trembling in her hands. Her eyes filled with tears before she could stop them. She covered her mouth with both hands, holding back a sob. This wasn't a small gesture. This was her entire life changing in one folded letter. She reread it 3 times before tucking it back into the envelope like it might disappear if she didn't protect it. At the end of her shift, she approached the rooftop garden. A quiet sanctuary reserved for VIP guests. She found Ethan standing by the railing, staring out at the city, a paper cup in his hand. She didn't say anything. He turned before she had to. "So," he said softly, "you read it?" Emma nodded. "You did this?" "I made a call," he admitted. "The rest you earned yourself." She stepped closer. "Why?" Ethan sipped his coffee before replying. "Because talent without opportunity is like planting roses in concrete. You've done more than most people with half the resources. You shouldn't have to keep proving your worth just to survive." Emma looked down at her shoes. "It still doesn't feel real." "It is," he said. And it's just the beginning." They stood in silence for a moment, the wind brushing lightly across the terrace. Then he added, "My mother was a cleaner, raised me alone, 3 jobs, never once asked for help." Emma looked at him, surprised. "You never talk about her?" "No one ever asks. They assume I was born in a suit." She gave a small laugh. "I guess I did too." She used to say, "You can be quiet and still shake the world?" That's what I saw in you. Emma swallowed the lump in her throat. "Thank you." "Don't thank me," he said gently. "Just become someone others will thank one day." She smiled. Later that week, the hotel's general manager called Emma into a private staff meeting. She expected more protocols or maybe a formal reprimand about the press. Instead, she found herself seated among a group of senior staff, department heads, and consultants. "Miss Davis," the manager said, "we'd like you to sit in on our redesign planning committee." Emma blinked. "Me? You work the floors every day. You know what works, what guests notice. We want your input." It wasn't a token gesture. They genuinely wanted her opinion, and she gave it, confidently, clearly. Every idea she pitched was written down. For the first time in her life, her voice shaped the world around her. Meanwhile, across the city, Vanessa Johnson's world was cracking. Her father, Wallace Johnson, the real estate titan who built half the skyline, summoned her into his office. The temperature dropped the moment she entered. "No driver, no latte, and no excuses," he said flatly. "Sit." Vanessa opened her mouth. "Quiet," he said. "I've seen the gossip. I've seen the manipulation. I've also seen the internal reports. You tried to smear a hotel employee over your own pride. It wasn't like that. I'm not here to argue," he cut in. "You've embarrassed this family and this company." Vanessa crossed her arms. "So what? You're cutting me off?" "No. I'm giving you what you gave others." Silence. Effective immediately, your accounts are frozen, your access revoked, your seat on the brand council suspended. She paled. "You need to remember what it's like to earn respect," he added. "When, or if, you do, we'll talk." For the first time in her life, Vanessa had no comeback. Days passed. Emma's days became fuller. Shifts at the hotel, coursework, in the evenings, planning sessions with the operations team. She hadn't known how deeply she wanted to be part of something bigger until someone gave her the key. And Ethan? He stayed nearby, sometimes in casual clothes, sometimes in a blazer, always watching from a respectful distance. But more and more, they found excuses to talk, to sit, to share. One evening, he offered her a ride home, not in a flashy car, just a quiet sedan, modest and clean. As they drove through the city, past skyscrapers and blinking signs, Emma leaned her head against the window. "Can I show you something?" she asked. "Of course." She guided him back to the place where everything began, the narrow sidewalk by the main road, the stretch of pavement that once soaked her in muddy water. It had been repaved since then, smooth, clean, fresh asphalt glistening faintly under the streetlights. She stepped out of the car and slipped off her shoes. Barefoot, she walked slowly onto the asphalt, eyes closed, breathing deep. Ethan followed, curious. "What are you doing?" She looked down, wiggling her toes slightly on the road. "She threw mud on me," Emma said softly. "But you planted a seed." He walked beside her and removed his own shoes. "And now you've grown," he said. She looked up at him, eyes full. "Now I've bloomed." They stood there, side by side, barefoot in the place that had once humiliated her. Now it felt like sacred ground. Back at the hotel, word spread, quietly, respectfully, that Emma Davis was more than just a cleaner, more than just a scholarship recipient. She was becoming someone the staff looked up to, a model of quiet ambition, of earned grace. Guests began asking for her by name. Managers sent emails requesting her feedback. A few even whispered that she might one day run the place. In her apartment, Olivia helped Emma study flashcards for an upcoming quiz. Between giggles and peanut butter sandwiches, they built castles in the air. Emma looked around at their tiny, clean home. The same cracked floor, the same flickering hallway bulb. But something had changed. Everything. Not the world. Not yet. But her place in it. The ballroom at Crownville Towers had never looked so radiant. Crystal chandeliers bathed the golden decor in soft light. Velvet drapes hung from the walls, and live strings played gentle music in the background. Guests from across the city, partners, investors, press, and longtime staff gathered for the hotel's 20th anniversary gala. But everyone knew this wasn't just a corporate celebration. It was something more. Emma stood backstage, her hands trembling around a small note card. She wore a sky blue gown, modest but elegant, borrowed from the hotel's costume department. No designer name, no glittering diamonds, and yet she outshined every jewel in the room. Olivia had helped her do her hair that afternoon. She'd whispered, "You look like a queen." Emma hadn't believed it then. Now, seeing the ballroom beyond the curtains, she almost did. At the far end of the room, Ethan stood in a simple tailored suit, his posture calm, proud. He wasn't the centerpiece tonight. Emma was. When her name was called, the applause rose like a soft wave. Not loud or showy, but steady, respectful, real. She stepped onto the stage and approached the podium. The note card in her hand felt unnecessary now. She looked out at the crowd, familiar faces, once strangers, now peers, and she began to speak. "Year ago, I was just a girl walking to work, worn-out shoes, mud on my clothes, invisible to most. But life has a way of testing what you carry inside, not what you wear on the outside. I didn't dream of attention. I only wanted a fair chance to grow. And when one kind soul offers you that, quietly, without asking for anything back, it changes you. What you're looking at today isn't luck. It's the result of effort, of dignity held on to when it would have been easier to let go. I learned that kindness can ripple wider than cruelty, if we let it." She paused, then smiled, gently. "I used to clean these floors without being noticed. Now I walk them with purpose. And I promise I'll never stop making room for others to rise too." The room was silent for a heartbeat. Then applause erupted, not just polite, but heartfelt. Staff at the back clapped with quiet pride. Some had tears in their eyes. Emma stepped back and Ethan met her at the foot of the stage. He didn't kiss her. He didn't need to. Their silence said more. From the corner of the ballroom, behind a column near the catering tables, Vanessa Johnson watched. She wore black. No jewelry, no press badge, no entourage, just her. For the first time in her life, unnoticed, she sipped sparkling water and watched the woman she once mocked receive standing ovations in the same hotel where she once ruled the top floor. It didn't feel like a tragedy. It felt like a mirror. After the event, Emma stepped out onto the rooftop garden, heels in one hand, her dress swaying gently in the night breeze. Ethan joined her moments later, carrying 2 mugs of hot cocoa. She smiled. Tradition. Now, always. They sat on the edge of a low bench, the city lights shimmering below like scattered stars. "I don't know if I deserve all this," she said, still staring ahead. Ethan looked at her. "That's what makes you different." She glanced sideways. "Different how?" "People who crave power often destroy things to reach it. You build, even when no one's watching." Emma held the mug with both hands, warming her fingers. "I used to think people like you didn't see people like me." "I didn't," Ethan said honestly. "Not until I remembered where I came from. My mother would have loved you." Emma smiled gently. I think I would have loved her too. The next morning, the hotel lobby was still echoing with whispers of the night before. Staff exchanged glances as Emma passed. Not the old glances. These were filled with quiet admiration. In the back hallway, Rita pulled her aside. "You gave that speech like you were born on that stage," she said, eyes bright. "You made us proud." Emma's cheeks flushed. "Thank you, Rita. That means a lot." "Oh, and—" Rita handed her a small envelope. "Found this in the staff mailbox." Emma opened it later that evening in the apartment. Inside was a single sheet of paper torn from a notebook, handwritten in quick slanted script. "I was wrong about you, and I'm sorry. You really did rise on your own. I hope someday I get to do the same." Tina Emma sat quietly on the couch, holding the letter in her lap. She didn't cry. She didn't gloat. She just folded the note and placed it gently in her pouch beside her scholarship letter, Olivia's crayon drawings, and the anonymous messages from long ago. Weeks passed. Emma thrived in her hospitality courses. She spoke confidently in class, participated in student panels, and earned top grades in every subject. Professors requested her as a mentor for incoming students. At the hotel, her ideas were now implemented into policy: sustainable cleaning practices, better break rotations for night staff, more accessible promotion pathways. She was no longer the girl who mopped corners in silence. She was helping shape the corners themselves. And Ethan, he remained close, never hovering, never overstepping. He picked her up after class sometimes. They'd share coffee at the corner cafe or eat noodles with Olivia, laughing over cartoons. They never labeled what they were, didn't need. To what they had was rooted in something quieter, deeper. One Sunday afternoon, Emma stood once again on the sidewalk where it had all begun. The street had long since been resurfaced. Traffic passed peacefully, no splashes. No jeering laughter. She slipped off her shoes and walked barefoot onto the pavement. Olivia stood nearby, giggling. "Again with the shoes?" Emma nodded. "Just needed to leave the last trace of who I used to be." Behind her, Ethan removed his shoes and joined her. Together they stood under the morning sun, not as a rich man and a cleaner, not as boss and employee, just two people who saw each other, who believed in small beginnings, in quiet choices, in what remains when the noise fades. Far from red carpets and press headlines, in a quiet apartment with flickering kitchen lights, Emma prepared dinner. Olivia set the table. Ethan stirred the soup. Nothing extravagant. Nothing public. Just peace and purpose and proof that when the world throws mud, you don't just wipe it off. You grow from it. If you watched until the end, comment the word BLOOM, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with friends and family.